And after a while, the body might start to whisper and say, hey, I'm not okay. There's stress stored here. Or those whispers can start to turn into screams to say, you know what, we're now holding a lot. Reality is right now is there is too much stress in our worlds. Our body was not designed to hold on to this stress. And we're getting to a stage where we're thinking we're normalizing it. It's like, well, this is just normal. And I want to say it's not. Your body's not designed. And if our bodies hold stress,
Welcome
what
to the Rock Your Midlife podcast, your transformative sanctuary designed to guide you through self-discovery and provide the tools you need to find your purpose and navigate life authentically. Whether you want to optimize your health, boost your happiness, or deepen your self-love, this podcast is your ultimate toolkit. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife. I'm Dr. Ellen Albertson, the Midlife Whisperer, and this is the podcast for women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, where we help you go from surviving and striving to thriving. And I'm excited about today's show because so many midlife women that I know talk about the fact that they're in so much pain. We talk about menopausal symptoms. A lot of the time we're talking about hot flashes, night sweats, brain fog, even rage, but we don't talk as much about the pain that happens, physical pain and psychological pain, but we need to because it's very, very common because as estrogen levels fall, it frequently triggers or worsens body aches, joint stiffness, muscle pain. This drop in hormones can also lead to things like increased bone and spine vulnerability, which can create lower back pain. And it just amplifies overall inflammation throughout the body. So if you are a woman who has been experiencing pain, you're really going to want to grab a cup of tea, maybe grab some note paper and listen to my guest because she is an expert on helping people reduce their pain. She is Dr. Carli Axford, and she is the founder of the Spinal Flow Technique. It's a healing modality now practiced by more than 4,000 certified practitioners worldwide. She is a chiropractor by training with over 30 years in the field, and she teaches how the body stores stress and trauma and how it gently heals when the nervous system finally feels safe. And she is about to become a Hay House author. I'm so excited for her. Her book is going to be called Awaken Your Spinal Flow, which will be coming out in 2027. Welcome, Dr. Carli. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here. I'm excited to be on your show.
Yeah, you had me at hello. I love your accent. I think it's just so amazing that we can be, like thousands of miles apart and be having this conversation. I think it's Tuesday morning where you are, and it's Monday night for me, but we are present and excited to share this. So,
We are.
I want to first talk about what does it actually mean when people say the body stores stress and trauma. I know it's really popular right now. There's a lot of information about nervous system regulation. A lot of people have read things like the body keeps score, but what does that mean, stores stress and trauma, and how would a woman know if it's happening in her own body?
No, I love that. And thank you for asking. So, I mean, the world that we're living in right now, there is so much stress. And a lot of us feel like, oh, this is normal. This is our day. And I want to say it's not normal. So we have physical stress in our world, we've got chemical stress, and we've got emotional stress. I speak a lot more about the emotional stress because that stores in a deeper, deeper level of the nervous system. And so while we have these stressors, what happens is if they're not processed or felt or released, they've got somewhere to store. And in your life, when you say, you know what, I'm going to put that to the back of my mind, I'm going to put that to the back of the mind. Where the back of your mind is your spine and your nervous system. And the body says, no problem. If we can't feel it, we can't release it, and we need to process this later. I'm going to find a place for that to go. So it finds a place in one of the vertebrae of the spine, the spinal cord, the spinal column. And what happens then is that we go, you know what, it's there for now. I'm not going to keep this in here. At some stage, I'm going to feel into it, see what happened, what the emotion was present, and I'm going to release it so it doesn't have to stay in our spine. But life gets busy and more stress comes. So the stored stress, what can happen is it starts to build and stay in our body. And we don't even know that, sometimes we don't even know that we're carrying it around. And after a while, the body might start to whisper and say, hey, I'm not okay. There's stress stored here. Or those whispers can start to turn into screams to say, you know what, we're now holding a lot. Reality is right now is there is too much stress in our worlds. Our body was not designed to hold on to this stress. And we're getting to a stage where we're thinking we're normalizing it. It's like, well, this is just normal. And I want to say it's not. Your body's not designed. And if our bodies hold stress, what happens is they can start to turn into what I call the sympathetic nervous system as opposed to the parasympathetic. There's two zones. The parasympathetic is rest, digest, heal. That's where we want to hang out. But I can say that majority of us are in that sympathetic, which is there's a tiger there. It's basically run, not healing. It's that fight flight response. And when we're in the fight flight response, our bodies are shutting down, keeping us safe. Now, that's a clever response. The tiger's there, we shut down. It's clever. The tiger goes, and we start to move back into the healing zone. What's happening in our worlds right now, that tiger has been replaced by our daily stressors, our thoughts, the emotional, the physical, the chemical. The body goes, no problem. I'm going to hold that into our bodies. And then we wonder why we're not healing or why we have all different things going on in our bodies. And I guess that's what I want to share is that you're not broken at all. But the life that we're living is hard for the body that we have right now.
Yeah, we don't get rid of stress. You think about animals, and there's that great book about like zebras don't get stressed, right? And so, like a zebra meets a lion and it gets all stressed and it runs and then it shakes it off. But we don't shake it off, we hold it. And what happens at midlife is estrogen helps to mitigate stress. So all of a sudden you take estrogen, fluctuating all the time. And then, postmenopausal, if you're not taking hormone replacement therapy, you're not really able to manage that stress. It makes it worse. So it's interesting when I talk to so many midlife women, and I don't know what it's like in Australia, but in America, not that many doctors, even OBGYNs, are trained in menopause medicine. And I hear from women I work with all the time, oh, my doctor just said it's normal, it's aging, it's hormones, just take ibuprofen, right? Like take some pain medications. This is just a normal way of being. Why do so many women reach midlife with fatigue, pain, or anxiety, and they're just told it's hormones, it's aging, but what's really going on?
I think that most people are reaching midlife, and like you said, everything's getting exaggerated. And a lot of the time, they're feeling what was happening in their body already, but they didn't have a strategy for it. I don't know any women that don't have stress or blockages in their body. I haven't met anybody. And that makes me sad. I've been running retreats for years, and every single person, when I put my hand on their spine, I can feel the stress in it. And what can happen is when we're busy, we don't feel it. We just keep going because we're going through life with our mind, our brain, as opposed to our body as well. We're busy, we're pushing. And like you said, we've got the hormones to be able to cope with that. But when things start to change, what happens is we get a sneak peek of really what's going on in our body. I've got that right now for me. At the night when I've got some changes going on, and that's making me so much more aware of my system. And I'm somebody that never, ever, ever, ever slowed down. I've got shit to do in this world. I'm going fast, I'm going quick. So when my body speaks to me, I don't have time. I'm not listening. But now that things are starting to change in my body, it's bringing me super aware of what's going on. And when that happens, you start to feel so many things that maybe were there before, but we didn't know what to do with them or have a strategy to actually go, you know what? I'm going to feel this. I'm going to find out where it is in my body and I'm going to move it. Because, like you said, with a zebra, animals know how to do that in the wild. There is stress for them too. They shake it off, they move, they discharge it. What do? We hold on to it tight. We
Or
don't
we
have
eat. We
strategy.
eat,
We
we have
eat.
alcohol, we go shopping, we look at
Yeah,
Netflix, we
yeah.
we
More,
scroll through
more.
our phone, which just makes it worse, particularly like if you're looking at media that's like violent or upsetting you even more. But it's like we want to be distracted so we don't feel the pain, but then it doesn't take care of the pain. And on top of it, we're often engaging in behaviors that are bad for us.
Yeah. And that for me, what happens is, there's stress stored as a blockage in your spine. And if there's stress stored as a blockage and we're doing the other things, we're not actually looking at the cause. We're not removing that stress in the body. Like you said, we're adding more. So then we can have more symptoms and more imbalances and more things that go on. And then we start to feel defeated, like, but we're not okay and we're midlife. It's like, actually, none of us are really okay. None of us were given that guidebook when we were given a body. I really believe that when we were given this body, we should have got the book to go with it. Like, hey, guess what? There's stress in the world, and this is what you can actually do to release it. There you go do it. We weren't given that. And we were told just to, just cope with it, toughen up, you've got stuff to do. And I do believe that as we get older, we feel more, we're aware more, and the body screams louder because it's saying, I'm not okay. When the body screams, it's not broken, it's just telling us, hey, what can we do? Let's do something different. And I guess that's what I want to share with everybody is that, the body's just saying, hey, I'm trying to keep you safe here, but there's too much. And that's where we've got to go. You know what? What can we do? Like if every day we're looking at reducing and eliminating the stress that's in our lives, so therefore stored in our bodies, it's only going to help the body become more free and at peace.
Yeah, and this is particularly important at midlife because that chronic stress is at the root of all illnesses. So heart disease, cancer, what you are trying to prevent, and those things start to really pop up at midlife. If your body is in inflammation, your cortisol is off the charts, it's doing damage.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
talk
And
about the healing piece. So you teach that the body holds everything it needs to heal. So what gets in the way of us listening? How did we let this happen where we're just, we talked about, we hear the pain, right? We feel the pain, we hear our body screaming, and then maybe again, we're reaching for an ibuprofen, we're trying to distract ourselves. We feel it's just normal, it's just aging. But there's also this other thing going on that the body knows how to heal. What gets in the way? How did we let it happen where we don't hear the healing?
well, I think that we are taught from a young age that healing happens from outside. I don't know what you have. We don't really have commercials anymore on TV, but the commercials take that for that, do this for that, see
We
that
do. We have
person.
pharmaceuticals. Like
Yeah,
every single thing you could feel, there's a pharmaceutical with a ton of side effects.
which is actually training us at a young age that healing happens from outside. If you take that tablet, you do that, it's outside of us. Whereas you don't see the commercial on TV to say, you know what, you are whole. When you cut your finger, what happens? Actually, it heals, it gets better. You don't need to Google it. You actually don't need to do anything. It gets better. People don't speak about, the body's insanely amazing. Like when that sperm meets that egg, a baby grows. Like that's insane. When we eat some bad food, the body pushes it out, maybe vomit, maybe diarrhea. Like that's incredible. So we're not conditioned or trained to go, you know what? There's a wisdom. Your body has everything it needs to heal. And so I'm talking about your finger and food, but there's another thing with nervous system, with your brain and your nervous system. There is a flow of energy in the body. People call it life force intelligence. You can call it innate intelligence. You can call it cranial sacral fluid. There's so many words, and I speak about CSF fluid because of my background as a chiro, but there is that connects the body and the spine together. And what happens there is that there is this intelligence in the body that knows how to heal. There's an abundant amount of energy in our system that is wanting to move towards healing. And we think we need energy outside, that green drink, that this, that. But we have that inside, but often our focus is on what's not working, what's broken, what's stuck, as opposed to, oh, is there another area in my body that actually has a lot of flow and a lot of energy already? When I worked as a chiropractor and people came in with the worst amount of pain or symptoms, I would have a feel of their body and I would feel a blockage in their spine. And maybe that blockage in the spine felt, it was about 10% of their body, and that was causing havoc, pain, symptoms, all the things. But there was another 90% of their body that felt amazing. But because our attention goes to that 10% that's causing havoc, that's what we focus on and that's what we grow. Whereas
Mhm.
there's another way to look at the body to go, yep, I get it. Because we want to listen to our symptoms. We want to hear it. We want to listen to our body. We want to make changes. But there's another whole area of our body that's actually doing really well. And none of us learn to focus on that. And for me, that's where if you focus on that and we grow that, we're growing more areas of our body that work. Same as when you wake up in the morning. Everybody knows you wake up in the morning, you go, I'm going to start my day. I'm going to have a beautiful day. I'm going to be abundant, wealthy, blah, blah, blah. We do that with our minds. And then we go, oh, yep, there you are. Sore shoulder. Oh, yep, yep, bloated, definitely bloated. Oh, yep, yep, sore back pain. So we're focusing on what works in our small mind and our large body. We're focusing on what doesn't work, which we're then growing. You grow where you put your attention on, as opposed to go, yep, I got it, shoulder. But you know what? There's a whole part of my spine that feels flexible and there's movement and there's ease. I'm bringing my focus to that. We need to do with our body what we know already that we're doing with our minds.
I love that. So the pain is distracting us from the body's healing ability. And it's really true where the mind goes, attention flows. So if you're paying attention to your pain, that's what is going to get amplified. I remember myself when I got diagnosed with breast cancer a number of years ago, and I was so upset, and I'm paying all this attention to the cancer, and I'm on my yoga mat, and I had this revelation. 99% of my body is fine. I mean, this thing was the size of a dime, tiny little speck, right? That I needed to take care of. But it was like this turning point for me where I realized, you know what? I'm going to take care of my body as I go through this thing. I'm not going to let cancer destroy my joy. I'm not going to let it hurt my body. And like you're saying, you can focus on what's working, and that's going
Yeah.
to actually help your body to amplify the healing. So, talking about amplifying the healing, what is the spinal flow technique? How do we breathe and move so that we awaken the spine and the body's own healing?
So the spinal flow technique works on, I mean, it works with the seven gateways of the spine, the seven different regions of the spine. And the premise is that our spine must move. There's movable bones in our spinal column, 33. And what can happen with stuckness and pain, it can happen that the vertebrae, instead of moving, having good movement, it can be quite stuck and blocked. And when there's a blockage there, there's interference in the spine and nervous system. So the spinal flow technique works with a premise that we can bring movement to every part of the vertebra. We can also bring breath all the way from the top to the bottom, and we're connected. If you pull the brain out of the body, attached to the brain is the spinal cord and the nerves that come and supply every organ, cell, tissue in the body. So what the spinal flow technique does is it actually is our practitioners find where there's blockages and go, yeah, okay, we can feel there's the blockages. It makes sense while you've got digestive issues, reproductive, back pain. It makes sense. We can feel it. But we are not going to bring our attention to where the blockages are, and we're not going to move them because we do believe there's a wisdom. If the body has put blockages in that area, it's because it's wise and it's smart. And we're not going to take the power away from somebody else by moving or relieving those blockages. We're going to allow that body, that person, to find the wisdom to remove their own blockages. So with the spinal flow technique, we work on what I call access points. And they're areas where around the brain, we've got dura mater, meninges. It's areas where the meninges attach. When you make a contact to these areas, what happens is a message comes to the brain and the brain goes, ah, that's where the available energy is. That's where the life force is. I'm going to grow more. So the contacts are made on the spine very gently. More energy comes through the system, more available healing until there's more flow in the system and the body starts to release its own blockages by itself. And that's what the modality is. It's really bringing freedom, ease to the spine. And my belief is, of course, it's my belief, but the spine and the nervous system is the master controller. Like, the brain, the spinal cord, it's what speaks to all our organs and our systems and the reproductive system and the digestive system and every part and muscle. It's controlled by the nerves. So for me, rather than working on the different symptoms, it's like, let's work on the master controller. Let's work on the cause, which is the nervous system. And if there's any blockages in there, let's get your own body to start to find and clear those blockages so there can be more health and more healing in the body and more connection. It's like the super highway. It's like any interference, we want to clear interference so the body can start to process and do what it knows. And it knows how to heal because it's wise and it's smart. We take away that interference, the body goes, yep, I got it. I know what to do here.
I love that because I've been to chiropractors before, and it feels violent to me. Like there's that cracking and you're kind of ripping muscle, and I don't know, I love what you're saying though, because rather than removing the blockages, you're saying you're going to use your own body's wisdom to move it on its own, which is an incredible thing. I'm curious how you came up with the idea because I would think as a chiropractor, you're trained to kind of manipulate and crack and, fix things. And what you're saying is rather than fixing it, I want to kind of elevate all of the energy and get the flow. Like there's, it's almost like I'm getting the vision of, almost like a plumber. I'm going to like get everything flowing again. And then the nervous system is naturally going to go to those regions that aren't working. You're teaching people how to heal themselves. How did you come up with this concept?
Yeah, and I'm not going to say it was me because, these healing methods have been around forever. And so even within the chiropractic profession, there are so many different varieties. And, there's the ones that will crack and move a bone and want to remove interference. And, they're creating great results. But you've also got the ones that are quite tonal that do work on different areas. And that's where I started. I started to work with, first it was about, cracking and moving bones. And then I guess for me, I started to look at, well, what's the body saying? Why is the body putting interference here? And I'm like, oh, there's wisdom in that. And I found some really smart reasons why people were putting blockages in areas. And I was like, who am I to take that away? There's wisdom in that. And so when I came across a lot of these tonal chiropractors that were working with the meninges, working very gently with the spine, that's when I started to work that way. And for me, it became that I started to see different type of people. So rather than their pain and headaches and symptoms as the priority, people were coming back to me and saying, you know what, I don't know what you're doing, but I feel better. I feel happier. I feel less stress. I feel like I'm going to make a change in my relationship. And it was very clear for me that one, I wanted to work with the body's intelligence and the wisdom. I didn't want to be moving stuff that wasn't my job. I wanted to work with the body so their body could find it. And two, I didn't want to be the person that took away a little bit of pain. I wanted to be the person that changed lives. And if pain is a symptom that brought people to see me, I'm like, you know what? Can we help you with that? But can we also make change to everything? And people were like, yes, I'm here for that. And then I really watched what happened when we had awe and wonder in the body. Like for me, when I look at someone's body and I'm like, why is there stress in that area? What's the reason for that? And I like to go into deep inquiry with my clients. I mean, I don't see people anymore, but when I did, it was more like, what's happened in your body? And, a little bit what you were saying, I'd see someone and they might have had like a breast cancer and there was a blockage around, the thoracic spine, right where the nerves come out to the breast. Like that's for not for me to be moving. That's the body saying, you know what? I'm holding this for now. Maybe it was getting really busy healing something in there. And I started to realize that there's a reason the body is putting stress into different areas. And I was never going to be the one that moved that away. And I do say, both my kids are studying chiropractic. So I
Oh, wow.
love chiropractic. I love it. And really, I have taken their philosophy. And the chiropractic philosophy is that there's an intelligence in the body and there's an intelligence that runs up and down the system. It's called innate intelligence. But if there's a blockage in that, that will affect the intelligence. And so, really, I've taken the same philosophy, but then used another philosophy to say, but you know what? What if we work with what's already present in the body? What if we work with the abundant energy that does exist? What if we grow that? And the body can start to find its own blockages and remove them when it's ready. And for me, that's what I've seen over and over, which is why I've created the modality because we're on a mission to change lives, and my practitioners are doing a pretty good job at it.
That's amazing. So if somebody's listening and they want to start using this, what's a simple practice that a woman could do today to shift out of that fight, flight, sympathetic nervous system and into from survival and into more of the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system?
I mean,
I'm just shutting my. Go ahead.
the quickest and easiest way is to use a combination with breath and movement. I do love breath, and I love breath because we can move, we can switch healings, we can switch the nervous system zones super quickly. You can move very quickly out of fight, flight into rest, digest, and heal just by changing your breath. And an easy breath, you can just inhale for 4 and you can exhale for 6. In at your nose, out of your nose. And that will immediately move your nervous system out of fight flight. And I want to say that to you because it's so important because so many people come and speak to me and say, I've tried everything. I've been here, I've done that. And I want to say to you really clearly is that you can't heal in the fight flight response. We're
Mm.
fighting, we're not healing. So for healing to happen, we must switch the zone. And that's something you can do at home right now. So play with your breath easily, only minutes more if you like, but also start two more things. One is listen to your body. Really listen to what it's saying, taking time to go, what's my body saying? The screams, but the whispers as well, because that information, find out where it came from. Find out how old you are. Find out, is there an emotion underneath it? And also find out if there's something in your life that you can do differently now, because that's a really good idea. And I also want to really um, encourage everybody on here to move your spine beautifully. The spine is designed to move. We sit a lot of the day, we drive, we're forward, we're one position. Someone once told me that right now, we always spoke about sugar for your teeth, but this is a sitting for your spine
Mm.
is worse than sugar for your teeth. Not worse, but same, not
It's
a
people
great
say
thing.
sitting is like the new smoking. We talk about
Yeah,
these things that are so basic. Like if you think about how human beings evolve, first of all, we squatted, we didn't sit, and we walked
yeah.
all day.
It
We were
walked.
hunters, gatherers. We
Yeah,
walked all day. We moved our bodies,
it
and we're
moved.
so. When I talk to midlife women all the time, and they were like, why am I getting this weight? And I'm like, well, it's not just menopause. You're sitting all day. And so
Yeah,
I always tell people, get a standing desk, go talk to your coworker instead of sending them a text or an
yeah.
email. You've got to move your body.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Sitting for your spine is like sugar for your teeth. When you walk, like you were saying, your spine goes into forward flexion and extension. Our spine needs to move. So I would say for your people listening as well, start to move your spine beautifully every segment. Like really start to move and play with movement in the segments of your spine, forward and back, side to side. Just a gentle, beautiful movement because that's going to create flow of energy all the way from the bottom in the sacrum to the top in your cranium where that cranial sacral fluid needs to go up and down. So start to play with just little movements. Don't do anything that hurts or aggravates it, but gentle, beautiful movements of your spine. Start to play a movement. So breath, listening, breath, and moving your body right now.
So, what do you say to somebody who has been disconnected from their bodies? I see this all the time when I play with human design. I look at somebody's chart and they're like just in their head, like everything. I always say that the mind is a great servant, but a terrible master, but they have totally lost connection with. And I love what you're talking about too, because the body is wise. Like it tells us, gives us information if we should go right or if we should go left, if something feels good. And in our culture, we've gotten so cerebral that we've lost touch with the body. What do you say to someone to help them reconnect with their body's wisdom?
I would say just to do a simple body scan, in the car as you're walking, but my preference would always be lying on the floor, just taking time. And I would say to start at the bottom, start at, I call it the base gateway, but that's your coccyx bone. And that's the coccyx bone that can actually hold you into that fight flight, but bring your attention there, right down into that coccyx bone, moving it up into the sacrum, all the way up, just to start to feel your body from the bottom to the top. And you start at your toes, actually. And we don't need to get technical with the names, but I would just say a scan of your body every single day to feel it. You're gonna end up in the mind and the head because that's where you choose to live, which is great. Super smart people in their mind. I'm a very, very mind heavy person, but I make sure that I scan my body every day and I listen to it because that's where the wisdom is. And I can promise you now, even though I've been doing this forever and I'm pretty clever, I can tell you that my cleverness with your body is not as clever as your own cleverness. The wisdom in your body is way smarter than anyone externally that to you that's going to tell you what you need, what you can do. They can all give advice, which is great. But when you can actually start to scan your body, feel it, and listen to it, and start to extract its messages, you're using your clever mind and putting it to work in your body so we can actually give it a job. So I do that with people on the table when I can see they're really mind heavy. I'm like, firstly, I need to meet their minds to make sure they can relax and surrender and they know and they feel like they're in the right place. But then I give them a job. I give them a job to find the body. So when my hand is here, I want you to feel here. But even with when they're on their floor and they're trying to scan, the idea is get the mind to have a job, which is to connect that body for a purpose to become the wisest, smartest person for your own body. The mind likes a job.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love this idea of also yoga nidra is great, body scans. And when I do body scans, when I'm with someone, I love to bring the self-compassion element in. So, because especially for women, because a lot of times when we get to certain areas of our body, there's a lot of judgment, particularly around like the waist, the hips, to say, thank you. Thank you, heart, for keeping me alive. Thank you, my belly for digesting my food, for holding my children, whatever it is, but bringing that element of kindness. So I love that. I don't scan my body enough. So you've given me some, I do breath work all the time. I do
Yeah.
heart math. I do, box breathing where you're breathing in for 4, holding for 4, holding at the bottom and then releasing and making, and the same thing, the 4 and the 6, making the exhalation along with the inhalation, but I don't do body scan enough. So thank you for that. I'm going to start
Can I ask
doing
you,
that
can I
daily.
ask you, can I also ask you as well, because you're doing breath and you're doing it so well and like bringing in the 4, the 6, or the box, could you also bring it all the way to your spine and all the way up? So rather than just breathe, if you can actually think of it as a current and bring that breath all the way to the bottom, and then when you bring it out, bring it all the way up with that intention that you want the spine to work, because then you're going to combine movement and breath. We may as well, we're middle-aged women. We've got to multitask this stuff. Bring breath in, bring movement, and that'll bring you spine awareness too. And then you're doing it all at the same time because the breath, we want that breath to go and rock every part of the vertebra from the top to the bottom. That's going to activate the cranial sacral fluid in the system, the energy that's available, and that's our life force that lives in our spinal column. So bring the breath through
Mm.
that spinal column all the way up to, and then to the top as well, pineal gland to the cranial area. So that's the invitation to bring the breath through the spine.
Yeah, you're activating my Kundalini mojo here because I do practice
Yeah.
Kundalini too. But that's idea of this, the serpent is in the spine and letting it just flow all the way from your tailbone all the way up to the crown of your head. So that's a great
When you were
suggestion.
saying, when you're saying before, how did I come up with this? Like, I have to be so clear that there's just nothing new anymore. I started as a chiropractor, science, then I went to ashrams in India. I didn't even know about the 7 chakras. And then I realized I'd created gateways of the spine that were really similar to the 7 chakras. I'm like, oh, this stuff's been there forever. Then I start talking about this flow of energy and I come across Kundalini yoga. I'm like, oh, this stuff has been there forever with
Mhm.
different words. And really, a lot of the traditions are saying the same stuff. There's a flow of energy inside us. We're packaging it different, we're speaking about it differently, but the concepts are the same, that there is healing energy inside the spine coming up and down. Let's tap into it.
Yeah, and what's so important about the work that you're doing is we need it now more than ever. And
Yes.
particularly, I'm always thinking too about like what makes us human is all we get all of this AI and what's the essence is that we are connected to spirit. And what is spirit? It's breath. You think about, even if you're thinking biblically, God breathed into Adam, right? That's what happened. God was like, here you go, here's the breath. I mean, I love the concept that the two, what's the most important breath? It's like the first breath you take when you're born, the last breath, and then life happens in between. But we can only go minutes without breathing. And we're so unconscious. You watch a baby breathe, it's breathing its whole body. I mean, I think that's another beautiful thing for those of you who grandmothers out there who have babies to watch, right? Babies breathe with their whole bodies. Animals, when my dog breathes, she's just, you could see the whole body, all of that relaxation. So thank you for making me more aware of just how we can do something that is so simple yet so profound. And the multitasking, you could do this in your car. Stop at a red light and you could just be like, okay, I'm going to do 15 seconds of breath work while I'm stopped at a red light. If I'm sitting in a doctor's appointment, waiting in line for my coffee at Starbucks, I'm going to do some breathing.
Yeah. And just do it. And like, let's not make it hard. Like, the world is already so complicated. You're having a conversation and you don't really love what you're talking about, but you have to be there, copy their breath. play with your own breath. Like use it as a playground to say, you know what, I'm going to play. I love what you said about babies because they breathe and they move as well. They twitch and they move. You know what? Every time they twitch and they move, they're releasing, dumping tension out of their system, and they're not afraid to do it. We have to hold ourselves together. I was listening to a teacher the other day, and he was called about inspiration. And that's in spirit in, which is
Mhm.
what you're saying. It's actually we're breathing spirit in. Like it's the words are amazing when you start to break them up. But yeah, let's copy. If we copy what a baby or an animal does, I mean, that's just pure consciousness. That's pure healing. Like they're moving, they're breathing. We just need to be able to do that again easily.
Absolutely. I love what you're sharing because it is so easy and effortless. So you've given us so much wisdom. I have just so loved this conversation. Any last minute words, if you want women who are listening to this to take one thing away, what would that be?
I would love you to take away that your body is clever and that it's wise and that you are not broken. And if that your body is speaking to you for now, it doesn't mean that it's going to speak to you forever. It's telling you something, and your body can change, it can heal. And that's what I'd love you to know is that let's fall in love again with the whispers of our body and take action so you can come home to your body again because it has everything inside it for you for healing.
Absolutely. Just like your finger, when you
Just like
cut
a
your
finger.
finger, or even, I'm thinking about, gosh, my kids are 25 and 29, all that happened was had sex and all of a sudden they're these big grown up people, right? We don't like it's marvelous. Like we need to marvel at how incredible the body is and how much wisdom and divinity there is in our physical selves. And really, I think this conversation for me has just given me another level of reverence for how amazing my body is. I always say that as long as it's John Kabat-Zinn, as long as you're living and breathing, there's more going right than not. And we're always complaining. And I see this at midlife all the time. Women complaining about menopause and like you said, that was a profound piece for me, is you said, we're focusing on what's not working. And we have like 95% working great. We need to focus and amplify what's working. So thank you for that. So for people who want to get in touch with you, maybe they want to look into using one of your practitioners. They want to get in your mailing list to see. I know I'm pre-ordering your book. I am so down for the book. Cannot wait. I think that you're such a gift for all of humanity. What you're sharing is so beautiful. But how do people connect with you?
Thank you. You can just jump on our website, our Facebook, our Instagram, and all of it's under Dr. Carli Axford. So Dr. Carli Axford, Axford. So just follow along. Can be Instagram, can be Facebook, it can be on the website. You can find our incredible practitioners. They are on the Spinal Flow Technique website, but it will redirect there. And they can definitely help you as well. And I'm always there sharing tips that you can do at home for your own health and healing as well.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we'll put all of that in the show notes. And Dr. Carli Axford, it has been such a pleasure to talk with you. I can't wait to meet you. You've got to come to Costa.
I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming.
All right. Well, I'll be happy to house you and host you and show you that beautiful country because it's an incredible place. Thank you all so much for listening. Let me know in the comments what you have learned if you're watching it on YouTube, or reach out to me at themidlifewhisperer.com and let me know what you thought about the show and the kind of guests you'd like to hear. And I would love to know what you are taking home. So I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. Thank you all so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next episode of Rock Your Midlife. Welcome to the Rock Your Midlife podcast, your transformative sanctuary designed to guide you through self-discovery and provide the tools you need to find your purpose and navigate life authentically. Whether you want to optimize your health, boost your happiness, or deepen your self-love, this podcast is your ultimate toolkit.